Good morning, friends. It's Friday again, and it's time for Evolve 2020. Evolve 2020, empowering L&D superheroes to support their remote workforce. My name is Rahul, and I'll be your host for today. This micro webinar series is brought to you by Harbinger Interactive Learning. Harbinger Interactive Learning is a global design and development company specializing in helping organizations migrate their classroom-based trainings to virtual and digital formats. Harbinger Interactive Learning has over 30 years of experience in delivering innovative learning solutions for various industry verticals. For more information, please log on to harbingerlearning.com. Today is the fourth episode of this micro webinar series, and we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, which is what do we do with these webinar recordings actually? So how to use webinar recordings as effective learning resources. So that's the topic that we are going to talk about today. And with that, give me an opportunity to welcome our guest for today. We have Sandeep Kulkarni with us. Good morning, Sandeep. Welcome to Evolve. Right. So thank you very much, Sandeep, for taking the time out to be on this Evolve 2020. So Sandeep, for our audience sake, if you could, just talk a little bit about yourself, help us understand you a little bit, as to who you are, what we do.
Sure. Thanks, Rahul. Good morning, viewers. And I'm Sandeep Kulkarni here. I work as an associate vice president for business development in Harbinger Group. Basically, I have a 25 years plus experience of working in IT in strategic developments, product development, and one of the role now is also includes the chief interactivity officer for Exaltive, our interactive video platform.
Thank you, Sandeep, and once again, thank you very much for taking the time out for being on this micro webinar series. So, Sandeep, before we start, I just wanted to kind of share one thought with you. So, as we would all acknowledge, that a lot of learning is happening through webinars these days, because that's the fastest way to move, right? If you're doing classroom training programs, you could quickly set up a web meeting link, and you could deliver a session or a lecture, and but at the same time, it's also true that not everyone is able to attend these webinars live. So the next best thing that a learner gets or a user gets is a recording of this webinar. So the situation could be like one webinar, another one, and it keeps piling. So there's at the end of the day, there's a bunch of webinar recordings to look at, and our learners could be like, brace yourself, webinars are coming. So just to avoid this kind of situation or help us navigate through this situation, we wanted to get some expert advice from you, and that's why we requested you to join us on this micro webinar episode. So Sandeep, to begin with, could you please tell us as to what is this tool specifically, what it does? What is this tool all about that you're going to talk about today?
Sure, Rahul. So, well, the tool that we are going to talk about today is Exaltive, and Exaltive is a personalized interactive video platform. So what Exaltive does is, it takes your existing videos and add different layers of interactivity on the video. So what happens is, otherwise dumb video, the video cannot talk to you. Yeah? So you can only listen to the video, you can see what's happening. But using Exaltive, by adding these interactive layers on the video becomes very interactive, and then the entire experience is different, because then the viewers can play with the video, they can add different layers of interactivity, and with that a lot of different avenues open up for using your existing videos. And of course it is coupled with very high quality analytics, so that basically gives you entire details about how the viewer is getting engaged with the video. We call it as engagement analytics. So in nutshell, that is Exalted.
Right. Thank you, Sandeep. And this sounds very interesting. Interactive videos, adding layers of interactivity over an existing video, and that existing video could be a recording of our webinar. So, thank you very much. And one quick question before we move forward. Uh, what is the technical skill level that one should have to be able to use this tool? Does a person needs to have any programming or coding knowledge or any of those kind of things?
Well, Rahul, to be honest with you, the viewer do not need any kind of specific technical skills, to use the tool. This is a purely DIY tool, do it yourself, and then without any programming knowledge or technical knowledge, one can very easily import the videos from YouTube, Kaltura, Vimeo, wherever you have on your own servers, and very easily and quickly add those interactive layers on the video.
Well, this is wonderful. So Sandeep, it seems that there are quite a few things which one can accomplish with Exaltive. Uh, I'll pick up one specific use case. One of the key things that we have been hearing from learners or employees who have been using webinar recordings as learning resources, that at times these webinar recordings are very lengthy. Could be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or maybe an hour or more. So people tend to get lost in these lengthy webinars. The engagement level keeps dropping. And then actually, if you have to refresh your knowledge or memory on a particular learning objective that was covered in that lengthy webinar, you actually have to skim through that entire recording and try to find that. So can Exaltive possibly help us solve some of these challenges?
Definitely, Rahul. I agree with you. Like what happens is, there are some of the challenges that learners might be facing with the webinar recordings. And the really good news is Exaltive can help solve these. So basically what happens is the entire webinar recording which is there, using Exaltive, we can add a menu structure or a table of content on the video so that the entire webinar recording can be divided into different chunks or different chapters in easy words. And then, it basically takes care of the timestamps and it divides the entire video into different sections so that the learners or viewers can go through that very easily.
Great, wonderful. So it seems like, we can have a modular structure and create micro learning nuggets within that lengthy webinar, align it with the, specific key learning objectives. Thank you. And one other thing, is there a possibility to add, if we want to add some assessments or reflective questions within these webinars at logical milestones? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Exaltive, this is very much possible. So what Exaltive provides the facility is to add a multiple choice, quizzes on the video. So ideally, they say that at the end of the chapter, if you have, some reflective questions, then it really help in recalling what the learners have learned. So in this case, even at specific after some specific sections of the webinar, if you have these reflective questions added, then it really helps in remembering what was covered in the webinar.
Thank you, Sandeep. I think, uh, thank you very much for bringing these points up. And and for our users, for our audience, could you also briefly, I know we don't have much time to go in depth in each and every feature of Exalted, but apart from this, couple of examples that you spoke about, do you want to, touch base on something else which you want to highlight?
Yeah, sure. So if you look at Exaltive, the different interactive layers which are possible to be added on the video. So we already talked about video, the adding quiz or dividing entire thing into chapters. But like few more interesting features of Exaltive from the perspective of pre-recorded webinar videos is either skipping the part of the video or looping the part of the video. So let's say you want to emphasize a specific section of the webinar, then using Exaltive, you can add a loop on the video so that a particular section, let's say you want to show it for a couple of times, then with that facility, the loop can be added on the video. And of course, there are some other features like, adding videos and videos, so that you want to emphasize a specific thing more, and then you want to add one more video for that. So that's also possible. So just like a picture in picture, so we have this video and video, wherein you can show additional information over and above the webinar video.
Well, great. It seems like there are definitely quite a lot of things which we could use. So we spoke about a few challenges and how we could possibly solve them from the learner's perspective. Now let's take a moment, Sandeep, and let's think from the L&D stakeholders' perspective. Uh, you know, they would probably be interested in knowing things around that. How can we ensure that people are engaged, learners are engaged while using these interactive webinar recordings, and if there are any course corrections that needs to be done, needs to be made in these recordings and presented to the learners. You spoke about having analytics. So does your analytics or any other feature, can those things be helpful for L&D stakeholders?
Oh yeah. So Exaltives, one of the primary thing is it's very rich engagement analytics. So we call it as engagement analytics. And let's say the learners or viewers are seeing the video, then using Exaltive, we can capture various things. So to talk a few, like, we have something called as a date-wise views, which is a basic thing. And at advanced level, we have engagement graph. So if you see in the screen, yeah, so let's say at the beginning of the video, there are about 75, 80 viewers started seeing the video. And if you can see that, after about a minute, the number of viewers, gone down. And at the end
Mhm.
of the video, again, you can see that the viewership has increased again. So this gives us an idea about the effectiveness of the webinar video or the video they are viewing. And this particular graph gives us the idea that, in the initial stages of the video, the engagement was very high, and it was again very high at the end. So there must be something interesting at the beginning and the end, so that the engagement is more there. If you see some more analytics which is provided by Exaltive, then we call this as the entire advanced level of video analytics, where you can see some heat map like graphs here, wherein what Exaltive captures is basically the location of the person, IP address, or a kind of repeat views the person is showing. So let's say a particular section of the webinar the person is seeing again and again. So Exaltive captures that as well. Then it captures the clicks. Let's say you have added a quiz on the video. So it captures like whether they have appeared that, and then whether the answers given by them were correct or wrong. And everything is, can be exported to a format as well.
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much, Sandeep. This is interesting. Specifically, the engagement graph that you showed us, that was pretty cool. I think it can clearly help L&D stakeholders understand as to where the engagement levels are dropping. And maybe that's an area to focus on, or, requires some course correction. So thank you very much, Sandeep, for all this information in such a short span of time. There's a lot of valuable information that you have provided us. Hey, Sandeep, before we sign off for today, I wanted to ask you one thing. Is let's say if someone wants to now use Exaltive, or at least evaluate and try and see how comfortable they are in using these features and how they can use it. So how do they go about it? What do they do?
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. So Exaltive is a SaaS-based platform wherein they need to go to exaltive.com, and Exaltive provides a 14-day free trial for the platform. So they can just go try it out for 14 days, and then the subscriptions are of course available. But yes, it is available for free for trial for 14 days.
Right, great. So, for our audience, you can go to exaltive.com and you'll get all the relevant details there. And of course, you can always reach out to us, drop us a line. So Sandeep, once again, thank you very much. This was very insightful, lot of useful and interesting tips that you shared with us in terms of how we can make the best use of these webinar recordings as learning resources. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Rahul. I really enjoyed interacting with you.
So for our audience, if you have any questions and want to know more in detail about any of the specific features of Exaltive, or you want to have a one-on-one conversation with Sandeep, please do drop us a line. You can drop us a line at info@harbingerlearning.com. I'll repeat that for you. It's info@harbingerlearning.com. And before we sign off, a quick summary that we want to do for today's presentation. So Exaltive is a do-it-yourself tool. It's a DIY tool. From learners' perspective, you can break down these lengthy webinar recordings into a modular structure. You can have a table of content, and you can help learners navigate to specific areas within those, lengthy webinars. You can add reflective questions, knowledge checks, and assessments. It provides you detailed engagement analytics, lets you know where your users are dropping off or where your users are not engaged with the webinar recordings. In terms of how to get started with it, you can go to exaltive.com and sign up for a 14-day free trial period. And then it works on a subscription model. It's a cloud-based software as a service offering. So that was the summary that we discussed today. And once again, if you have any questions, specific things that you want to discuss, please do drop us a line at info@harbingerlearning.com. In our next episode, we'll have another superhero from the L&D community join us, and we'll be talking about how to get your audience hooked through visual design during the virtual instructor-led training sessions. So please do join us. That's going to be another interesting episode. So see you next week, same day, same time. Till then, stay safe and stay inspired. Thank you.